Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Well, I spent quite a lot of my career in advertising, marketing, and communications. So early days were in advertising agencies, making TV ads, cinema ads, and things like that. I then spent a bit of time at Virgin, where we did all sorts of stuff, as you can imagine, working with Richard. I then had events businesses both here and in Asia. And I set up a film company, a corporate film production company, both here and in Hong Kong. So I've done a lot of these kind of films that you're trying to do. I've done them on the basis of using as a production company, so sound engineers, lighting, all those kind of things, because it's only really recently that we've had all this technology to enable you to film, edit, and do all of those things on your phones and laptops and so on. So hopefully I bring some of those skills in terms of helping you develop your why and what you're trying to do, with some tips on how to get the most out of your iPhone and so on and so forth. So without further ado, one of the things I want you to just, when you're thinking about producing a film for this venture competition, is just to think about where, if you put some work in now, where it could take you. Where is the opportunities that this can take an idea that you have inside you and you manage to get it out and put it onto film? You enter the venture competition, maybe you start getting through as a finalist and so on. Where could this take you? I like the idea that with the venture competition, it's film entries. And I'll tell you why, and I'm just going to quote a couple of stats. Let me just refer to them for you. Ofcom reported that in 2020, your average person in the UK watched 5 hours and 40 minutes of video content every day. That's a lot. That's an awful lot. I can't imagine. I think there's a lot of people watching an awful lot of stuff. But the question from that, of course, is how do you stand out? How do you make people remember your video and to be able to refer back to it in the future? Another stat, Cisco did a study and they found out that online video content will make up more than 80% of all internet traffic by the end of this year, which is 15 times higher than in 2017. So that growth is enormous. Yes, the pandemic and all of us watching Netflix and Amazon, stuff like that is important. But if you think about it, if you think about the way you research the things that you want to buy and the things you're interested in, a lot of it is going to be, a lot of stuff you're going to want to watch is film based. HubSpot did a study and found that 70%, I'm only going to do one more stat after this, so don't worry, I'm not going to drown you in statistics. 70% of consumers would rather learn about a product or service by video rather than just reading about it. That's a really interesting statistic. And why is this? Well, consumers, people who watch videos will tend to remember, and again, another stat, up to 95% of your message on video rather than perhaps only 10% if it's delivered on text. So these things are important. Video is, as an entrepreneur and part of your entrepreneurial journey, it's going to be a really important tool for you. So learning how to make videos and how to commission videos and things like that, I think it's going to be really helpful for you in the future. And even if you don't go on as an entrepreneur and you're thinking about just sort of going to work in an organization and so on, as you progress up through your organization, you will probably be asked to be in films. So learning how to be both sides of the camera is going to be a very useful tool for you wherever you go. What I'm going to show you now is a film. produced by some Brunel students. Joanna and Pav, who were product design students, and they came up with a concept called Lava. Ended up, I think they won. I think they did win. Yes, they won last year's venture competition. They also got through to won the Global Red Bull Basement competition, got through to the final of the Lord Mayor's entrepreneurship competition during lockdown. I'm going to show you their film now. Again, a very short film. Now, a couple of things I just want you to look at. They have some quite complex computer graphics and so on. Don't worry about those. If you've got those for your idea, great. If not, really don't worry. But what I do want you to look at is the way that they filmed it, okay? And look how simply the filming is and how great their communication of the idea is, okay? They are ex-Brunel students. So when I send you this out, click on they've renamed from Lava to Lilo now. There were some copyright issues around the name. Click on them, follow them on Insta, all those kind of things, because at some stage in the future, I'm going to be shouting about one of your ideas as well. So give them all your support. So watch this film and just put the computer animation bits to the side and just see the simplicity of their sets and so on.
England is set to run short of water within 25 years. On average, a single person uses 149 litres of water per day, 12% on showering and 13% on laundry.
This usage dramatically increases with students who spend nearly an hour and a half in the shower per week.
We surveyed students and found that doing laundry can be a difficult task while at university, with laundrettes often being overcrowded, too expensive and full of broken machines.
Which is why we've designed the Aqua X. An award-winning portable washing machine for students that uses filtered shower water to wash clothes. The device includes a removable water tank, which can be placed on the shower floor like a mat. Once the tank is returned to the base, the water is filtered and used in the laundry process. Our proprietary water filter can easily be replaced through a subscription service. It clarifies the used shower water, removing all particles and bacteria, thus ensuring your clothes are left clean and fresh. The Aqua X features an innovative drum, which aerates the detergent and washes the clothes in a third of the time required by a typical washing machine.
Our unit cost will be £31, with a retail price of £65, making this a cheaper alternative for students who spend approximately £100 a year on campus washing facilities. £20,000 will help to prototype and test our solution, as well as fund our initial manufacture setup and marketing costs. We are currently in the process of securing design rights and partnerships. If every student in London were to use the Aqua X, we could save over 1.7 billion litres of water a year. That's equal to over 700 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The time to make waves is now.
Do you see what I mean? It's just some of their filming is very simple. I think they may have even done it on an iPhone. Just even things like the putting a phone inside a washing machine and stuff like that. So I want you to think that, oh, I've only got my phone to film. Actually, I want you to really challenge yourself to come up with ideas and ways of filming that are really simple. Those of you who have been in any of my presentation skills workshops will recognize this. It's a very good overall, all-round communications model. And what I try and do with communications is break it down into 3 easy sections. The first one is that preparation bit. So this is the point where you start thinking about, what am I trying to do? Intent. What's it going to start to look like with your concept and so on? And then create in terms of writing a script in this instance, or slide design in a slide design instance. The middle section's around performance. This is the actual, getting on and doing the fun bit. And again, I've used the words lyrics, music, and dance. Andrew, what you talking? We're not creating a music video here. When I talk about lyrics, music, and dance, I'm talking about the words you use, lyrics, and those may be the words you speak or even the words you put up on the screen. The music, so if you're speaking to camera or off camera, it's any kind of body language and so on. Sorry, it's your tone of voice. And the dance thing is the body language. So music is tone, dance is body language. And then the last bit is the perfect, is what do you do with it once you've done it and what do you do with it afterwards. Now, if you're developing an idea that you've been thinking about for a while, and maybe you're even at a stage where you've got a website or something like that, the film you produce may even start becoming, you may think, actually, this is really nice. I'm going to stick it on my website. I'm going to start thinking about it as an opportunity for other things. It might be entering other competitions because and again, Emily's sort of great font of all knowledge. There is a link on the Brunel Entrepreneur Hub website, which has all the current competitions that students can enter. So very much, if you're an entrepreneur, save that link because it's really helpful. There's loads of stuff going on all over the place. So anything you do for this competition, you might find useful for other things. So that is the model. The numbers on the left are, broadly speaking, if you say are going to go, right, I'm allowing myself, bear in mind you're also studying, I'm going to allow myself 10 hours. And I'm picking that figure out of the sky. Some of you may go 100 hours, whatever. Half of it should be sat in that preparation stage. Only half of it. Don't spend all your time there, because what you do need to make sure is that you spend enough time in that performance bit, enough time really practicing. So don't film something without rehearsing first, and rehearsing a number of times. So worth making sure that you allow yourself plenty of time to practice your filming and then filming. Filming generally takes longer than you think. And then afterwards, it's just making sure you allow yourself that bit of time to think about how else you can use it. Is there some social media? Is there a website? And so on. Oh, here we've gone. It's a process, okay? I'm teaching you a process. I'm not trying to do paint by numbers, okay? So if you follow this process, you're not all going to come out with sort of, a cookie cutter style videos. This isn't the point of this. The point of this is to allow you a process to promote and stand out. So each of your ideas is very unique. Each of the markets you're going to be talking about is unique, and each of you's unique. And so this is about giving you a platform and a process to really then be able to stand out from the crowd, be authentic, all of those things. So don't worry, it's not going to drive you down a certain route that you might not want to go down. And lastly, don't worry. One of the things I always say to students is that you are at one of these unique times in your life where if this doesn't go as well as you wanted it to, you're not going to lose a job over it. You're not going to lose your home. You're not going to, so all these things that you might have to start thinking about and worrying about when you go into your career. This is a time for you to experiment, to push yourself, to step outside of your comfort zones, and then not worry too much about the results. Of course, we all enter competitions because we want to win. But if you don't, you can have a period of reflection and sort of, okay, well, I really pushed myself out there, but I can understand why I didn't get through. Okay. So I hope that sort of makes some sense to you. So the intention bit, so this is really starting to think about setting your stall out about your particular idea, and how you'd like to present it. These are just some ideas to think about. They are not something you have to think about all of them, but just some of those things that might be where start making them some notes around. Does your idea have a name? I'm always surprised that people don't name their idea. It's a really, I know sometimes it's a bit like, oh my God, I can call it anything. What shall I call it? And I've done some weird stuff. I had a video production company called Funky Duck Media. I've had an events company called Brilliant Events. I've worked for Quintessentially Events and so on. Student Skill Store. Student Skill Store used to be called Rug and Bone. You know, company names are interesting, they're challenging, but I would at this stage, even if it's just a working title, just something for you to get used to and for the judges to get used to. We talked before, what's the problem or unmet need that your idea addresses? Is there room for this? Is there room? Is there a market that you're thinking about? Who is this? Who is your target audience for this product? And why would they be interested in using it? We talked about the business idea earlier, making sure that you really clearly explain what it is. And sometimes, you know, some of it can be quite complex if it's, not a particularly, straightforward, if it's software related or so on. But sometimes you have to make the complicated understandable. So if it is, then spend some time in that area. Do you have competition? Generally speaking, you're going to be entering markets where that have other competitors in there. Very few products and services are unique. So just again, think about who your competitors are, how you're different, and so on. Who's in your team? Is there something that is vital? And sometimes most of the time it is, generally ideas are about something you've experienced in your past or skills and the courses you're on at Brunel or the degrees you've learned or stuff you've experienced in recent times. So don't forget why you're there. We talked about just doing graphics. I don't know what your idea is, but it might be that actually you need to be bang center in the middle of your film because you are the only one that you're the right person to be bringing this idea to life. So don't rule yourself out, but don't necessarily always rule yourself in either. We talked about how to make money. Kind of important, and there's lots of different ways of making money. It might be just a straightforward product purchase, might be subscription, it might be if you're sticking something on social media, there might be paid for posts, there might be sponsorship. There's so many different ways of earning money these days. So to give, might be worth thinking about how you're going to help the judges go, okay, that makes sense, they're going to do a subscription model, I understand why you do that, and so on. And is there anything else? This is this idea of sort of, what is it about your idea that's really different, really unique? Now, it's all very well writing all this down. Very good. I hopefully have helped you. Okay. So what I've done is I've created what's called a filming profile document. I will show it to you there. And this is worth spending a little bit of time on and distilling it. So I've broken it down into 7 questions, okay? 7 straightforward questions. And each section, I've given you some little hints around the kind of things that you should be thinking about. So who am I filming this for and what do I know about them? Generally speaking, you are going to know who your audience is for this film. So if you don't know them, get to know them, get to know who they are and sort of their expertise. So just starting to get an understanding of who are going to be your judges, because let's say you've got something at the cutting edge of social media, but so you might need to just explain if you're in a certain part of a market, you might need to just do a bit of background and explain in a bit more detail. So worth spending some time on that. Secondary audience we talked about. There might be in this instance, for example, if you're going, actually, this film might be useful for other competition. So maybe there's some other competitions you want to pop down. Maybe there's, you want to put it on your website. and so on. Maybe it might even be just it's part of a project that you're doing at university, at Brunel, and you want to impress your tutor or your judge or whatever. Just have a think. You may just go, actually, no, I'm single focus, arrow. These are the people I want to target. That would be great. But just think there might be some secondary audiences. What's the main purpose of the idea? What is your idea? So all these things we've been asking around, making sure, and this might take a few iterations for you to go to about explaining what your idea is about. Three key messages, generally speaking, in 2 minutes, if you are really lucky and do your job well, the judges an hour later might remember 1, 2, 3 things, if you're really, really lucky, about your film. What are those messages you want them to remember? And more importantly, in what order? What it'll do as you are going through concept, storyboarding, and script, it will just help you go, let's refer back to this. Is this really coming through? Is this coming through in the right order? So worth, again, spending a bit of time on that section. What do the audience currently think or know about the themes of your presentation and so on? Again, this is an important section. And what do you want them to do or feel after watching your film? And then this is probably more around for the pitching. What will the questions will the judges have for you? But also, most of the questions that if you talk about your idea, people have around it. Write them down because you might be able to cover them off in your film. What you don't want to do is to go, okay, I'm slightly concerned about how we make money from my idea. I wonder how they're going to make money out of it. So it's the old elephant in the room question, isn't it? If you are worried about it, you could bring it into your video and say, we are exploring different ways of making money at this stage. We'd like to, some advice might be helpful. So don't ignore those big questions and hope they go away, because they won't. This is a useful document. It's a pain to write, because what you're trying to do is take all of that thinking and distill it down into some quite simple statements. So worth spending some time over. But I promise you, those of you who do spend time on it will end up with better films than those of you who don't spend time on it. So again, just worth thinking about. Design. So this is when you start thinking about storyboarding and what it's going to look like and so on. I'm going to give some very simple ones at this stage. So you've got the factual one. So if you think this is where you just go, right, fact, fact, fact. So it just all adds up to give you this overwhelming sense, of course, this is why our idea is brilliant. A typical marketing route is persuasion, and that's a simple one where you've got here a couple of options, but this is why ours is better. So that might be if you're going into a busier marketplace. Storytelling is a really powerful one, and it might be that your idea has got something about you in it. It might be something that you've experienced that you can then paint pictures in the judge's mind by sort of saying, I had this situation, and if only I had this as a potential solution, it could have led me here, or would have avoided me going here. And it's a really it sticks in people's mind. Humans, by their nature, like connecting with other humans. So if you put a human story in your video, it can be a bit more sticky with the judges. 3-part stories with that's a very Hollywood style approach. And if you've noticed that the Pav and Joanna film I showed you earlier follows a classic 3-part stories, which is basically introduction, you introduce characters, you set the scene. Second part, a problem happens, and things don't go very well. And then the third part, your idea, hero, comes in, fights all the baddies, and look how everyone ends up in a much better place. All of those are worth, there's tons of information out on the internet. Anything that you're interested in, just Google. There's lots of information out there. So that kind of helps you with a bit of structure and so on. And I use the sticky notes here because they're really helpful. If you are storyboarding, write stuff on sticky notes, put them on the wall, and then move them around. Really helpful, really easy way of doing it. You'd be surprised at how many full professional production companies do that. It's not just a student thing. It is a really helpful thing, whoever you are. Other things to think about, but you might want to do your presentation in the style of TikTok. You might want to do it simply as a Zoom thing where you record yourself and that is your entry. Podcasting, another favorite. We had a team that took part in the workshop before Christmas, and there's an idea around podcasting. So it might be, we've all seen on YouTube people filming themselves podcasting. So that's a really nice option too. If you have tons of time and lots of creativity, there are simple ways you can do animated films, but there are some magical people out there watching this. So you might go, I can animate this, no problem at all. Obviously, there's the documentary style. You've got As Seen on, the shopping channel style. And of course, a TED Talk is always interesting. But there are loads of concepts out there. So, let the world be your oyster, and all of those things are possible. Things when you are putting your concept together, and then when you start to think about your script, which I'll come into in a second, just some facts and figures. And if there's one thing I would like you to, one page I want you to keep referring back to when you're putting your stuff together, it is this one. In the first 15 seconds, if you are not interesting, your audience will switch off. So think about what those first 15 seconds are. In order to be understood and for your audience to keep up with you, 2 words per second. Any faster, the audience can't keep up with you. Any slower, the audience will get bored. So that is, in a 2-minute video, 240 words. Okay, that's not many words. So you need to make sure they all count. Okay. One of the things I would urge you to do is to keep it simple. The Joe Pav thing, the film we watched earlier, they could have gone into tons of detail about how the machine works and so on. And they kept it really simple. They wanted you to just understand the concept rather than try and cram too much in. So just be aware of that. Tone of voice. You are, as an entrepreneur, you are now need to start thinking like a brand. What is your tone of voice? How is that tone of voice going to be heard by the audience, and so on? Some of you may already have made some animation, renderings, prototypes, those kind of things. If you have, show them. If you haven't, don't worry, okay? That's not part of the judging criteria. But again, I would be, if you have done that stage, even if they're rough sketches and so on, just think about, could you fit them into the film? With films, you've got 3 dimensions, okay? You've got the visual, okay, what the audience sees and hears is the second one. So this is what they're saying, what you're saying. Might be you saying, it might be a voiceover and so on. But it has this third dimension called graphics, which very easy to add in some of the simple editing programs. But people can watch, listen, and read at the same time. If you think about watching Sky News or something like that, you've got stuff going on all over the place. Somehow your brain can actually understand all of that. So are there things that you can add in that third dimension that will just help lift things. And again, as you go through this process and start writing your script, what I want you to do is keep checking back on your filming profile document to make sure you are clear and so on. Video scripts. This is a script sample style I have used over the years. It is a professional video script. So this is downloadable and there's a blank video script at the end of it. On the left-hand side, you look at everything the viewer sees, okay? And on the right-hand side is everything they hear. And it just goes through, helps you block things out. And what you'll do is you'll be able to go, okay, this is starting to make sense with this filming profile document, because your key messages you need to put in as blocks within this. And then you go, okay, at the end, you finish your video script, and then you check back and go, all my 3 key messages, I've either tucked them right down the end of the film, not good, put them right at the beginning, spread them through, even better. So it will help being able to compare that and go, do they make sense? What's even better is to take your script and your film profile document and give it to your mum, your friend, someone not involved, and go, do these 2 add up? So this is before you start filming. Do these 2 add up? So hopefully that, and if they don't, you can tinker with the script before you start getting your film ready. We've developed a script. You've gone from building up your intent, which is your filming profile document. You've gone through concepts, storyboarding, and you've finished up with a lovely draft script that you can now go, okay, we now need to start filming it and turning this into something that looks amazing. Oh, sorry. So here are some, and again, what I've done is my last bit of, I've produced this, which is a very handy, everything you need to know about filming on one page. Everything you need to know about taking great films. But our phones are extraordinarily powerful filming devices. All of them do HD, pretty much. All of them do HD. A lot of them now do 4K. What I would suggest and make sure you do before you film is just make sure you have enough space on your phone to film. To give you a sense, you'll roughly need, for every minute of filming, you will need 100 meg of space to film in HD. You will need 3 times that space to shoot in 4K. I don't think you need 4K, okay? I'm just going to put it out there. I would shoot in HD. I don't think at this stage you need 4K. Everything on websites goes down to HD anyway, and so on. So just make sure you've got space on your phone and your settings are right for HD. The temptation is to film like that. Film like that. Film landscape, not portrait. So when the team are watching it back on their on laptops and computer screens, it looks like a excuse me. It looks like a proper film, fills the screen, and so on. If you are going to be filming somebody, sometimes they are going to struggle looking straight into the camera. It's very odd. As human beings, we're used to this idea that we take visual cues from the person we're speaking to. And that takes forms of nods, smiles, and so on. If you just are looking straight down a lens, sometimes, and it happens to me, is that all the thoughts and my script and my ideas, they just fall out my head. In which case, doing an off-camera interview. So if you look at me for the moment, so on camera, so that's me looking straight at you. Off camera is me talking to the side. And if you watch programs, there are lots of off-camera interviews, and it's still perfectly natural. So just think about it. Try out something that works for you, and if you're happy off camera, great. And if you're happy on camera, brilliant. So don't worry, it's great to use either. Phones, I would suggest don't use digital zoom. Digital zoom ends up looking grainy. So if you're far away and then try and zoom in, the quality of the picture, it's not an optical lens, the quality of the picture degrades as the phone tries to process the information that you're showing to them. Shoot what's called B-roll. So if you are doing behind the scenes or getting ready, or you're shooting outdoors, so on, B-roll is just pictures, films of what's going on around you, of you guys getting ready. You might want to include it. They're great. B-roll's great for switching from different scene to scene. Again, watch a program, see how they fill it with stuff that's not immediately about the information they're trying to provide. Now, phones are great for their cameras. What they're less good at is picking up sound. And this is one that's just a simple practice thing, okay? You can buy, you can go out and buy, there's sort of little, what are called lapel mics that are Bluetooth, that can attach to your phones. If it's more than one person speaking, sometimes it becomes a bit complicated. If you don't want to spend the money, absolutely fine. You just need to make sure your phone is close enough so that it picks up what you're trying to say. And that will vary with where you're filming. If you're quiet indoors, that's great. If you're busy indoors in a busy environment, you might need to be nearer. And if you are outdoors, you might need to be nearer still. The key here is to practice and play it back and go, can't hear them, can't hear me enough. Because the one thing you don't want is Mike, Emmy, and Emily to not be able to hear what you're saying. It kind of defeats the object of what you're trying to do. So just make sure you practice in that respect. Lighting, again, lighting is an important part of the filmmaking process. If you ideally you want a couple of lighting sources. Now it might be you might be outdoors, in which case make sure the sun's in front of you, not behind you. If you're indoors, overhead lighting's okay. If you can supplement that with an angle poise lamp or something along those lines. The important thing is that the subject looks nicely lit. It just helps the audience to view things. Little editing tip, make sure that you start recording a couple of seconds before the action starts taking place, okay? Before you start talking, and then you keep it rolling for 2 seconds afterwards. It's much harder to do naturally, but if you've got someone doing the camera for you, just ask them, can you start filming and then shout action, and then 2 seconds later you start talking, and then keep filming afterwards. In your excitement on take 57, where you finally nailed it, you might all celebrate and cut off a bit too early. Where it can be helpful is when you do editing. It'll give you what's called an editing point that you cut to and from during your film, which is the point. The point below that, which is you don't have to shoot the whole thing in one take. Very typically, you might shoot it in blocks and then drop it into the editing software, put a little bit of transitions or B-roll between them, and suddenly you've got a film. One thing to really make sure of is as soon as you've finished your filming each time, if you're doing it all in one go, make sure it's backed up. I know most of us save all our stuff to the cloud and stuff like that. Please make sure you do that, or download it onto your laptop. Make sure you've got it on a second device. There's nothing worse than having a great shoot and then somehow all of your footage is erased or deleted. one last tip for you really is a pro tip, really. Rule of thirds. So most phones, you can put a setting, grid lines on your on the camera. They obviously don't show up in the film, but as you'll see, when people shoot professionally, professional camera people, they tend to put the subject on the areas where the lines cross. So here you can see Joker there, person there, bike there, cat there, rocks there. It looks really good. So don't just necessarily think you want to plonk someone in the middle of the screen. You might put them over to one side, so they do that. And also that gives you space either side of them, or to one side of them, to put any graphics you want and so on. Here is a basic profile roadmap for you to go through. Get planning a schedule, think about where you can allocate time, fit it in around your studies, and put those blocks in your diary. Write your documents, plan your storyboards and your script, find someone to take them back, to check them for you. Do some practice filming, a bit like a presentation. If you just think you're suddenly going to be brilliant in front of the camera, chances are you won't. So make sure you allow yourself time to practice, shoot the real thing, get a bit of editing. Again, just get someone to sense check script, filming profile document against your final film, upload it to YouTube, and look forward to your positive email coming back from the team. I think, there you go. Steven Spielberg's first ever film was Jaws. I mean, it's laughable looking at that image of that plastic shark now. If you think about the modern, the modern CGI and stuff like that, this was, and this is showing my age now, one of the first films I went to watch, and it gave me fear of swimming in the sea for quite a long time. And that is the power of great storytelling and great films. So I hope you guys have found this useful today, and I look forward to seeing some of your great films in the future.